On today's video, we're going to be showing you how to take a wall like this
and panel it like this. I'm going to show you guys how. So your first step is to grab yourself some 12mm MDF
from your local merchant, and if you're nice enough, they'll cut all the strips down for you, down to your size. This is 100mm, and that's the size we recommend you to use. So before we show you how to mark out, you've got two options for this bottom rail here. If you want to leave your skirtings on, you can take your 100mm and you sit it on top like so. If you want to take your skirtings off, you're going to make this bottom rail, the height of your skirting, taller. So when you put your skirting on, you've still got your 100mm rail at the top. We're going to be taking our skirtings off, so let's start marking out. Right, for this step, what we're going to be doing, because we're taking our skirtings off, is we're going to be measuring our height that we need to set the bottom rail to, and that is 100mm plus the height of the skirtings you're having, even if they're your old ones. We're having 145mm skirtings, so it's going to be 245 in the corner we need to mark.
So now that Phil's measured, we're actually going to mark a level line. So you need to continue drawing your level line the whole way across your wall.
Right, now that Brad's given us our level line, it's time to stick our first piece on using grab adhesive. So all of the products we're going to be using through the video will be listed down in the description, so you can go check them out at the end of the video. So it's a simple case of putting a nice bead on the back. I like to do a wibbly wobbly motion, so do what you like. Obviously, if you're keeping your flooring, make sure you protect it, you don't want to get anything stuck on that. And it's just a case of putting it up to the wall, sticking it in place and lifting it up to your line. So if you need to, you can use panel pins or a pin gun like we're going to be, and all this is going to do is hold this in place while that adhesive sets.
Right, so now we've got that bit in, we're just going to quickly measure this. Mine's 8100, and we're going to take it to, today we're going to be cutting on a chop saw, if you're fortunate to have a chop saw. If not, you just use a wood saw and a mitre block, but we're fortunate to have one. We're actually cutting indoors just for use at home. You should really cut outside, but it's raining. We're going to use a dust extraction, which is the Hoover, and we're going to quickly get this cut and glued in. And then we're just going to glue this bit in. Up and down, beautiful. Lovely stuff. And then we're going to offer it back up to our level line, making sure that the joint is nice and flush. So when we come to fill the joints later, they'll be nice and smooth.
Right, now that we've got that bottom rail in nice and level, we're going to be setting the top rail at 1.5 metres or 1500mm, and that measurement is taken from the floor. So we mark our wall, and then we're going to measure from the top of our rail, and that leaves us with 1.255 metres. So we mark this side, and I'm going to pass it to Brad and he can do the same on that side. Right, now that we've got our two marks, we're actually going to be using a chalk line. And remember, everything's listed below, so you can get it all down there, because all of the stuff we're measuring now is off of this level line, so everything will be level above. So if I give this to Brad,
we'll demonstrate how you use the chalk line.
So we're going to pull it from line to line from our two marks. We put a bit of tension under it. You get two fingers, we pull it off and ping it like so. And that gives you a nice level line to work to. Now that we've got our nice level line across the top using our chalk line, we're going to take our 100mm rail that we had pre-cut, and we're just going to put our grab adhesive on it.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle,
wiggle, wiggle,
wiggle, yeah.
And then we're going to hold it up to our line, like so. And what we're going to do, we're going to alternate our joins, because that's just how I like to do it. And then we'll start using either our hammer and our pins, depending on what you've got, or your little pin gun, and we'll just work our way along that line, pinning it into place. You don't have to use big pins, because all they're doing is holding it temporarily while the glue sets.
So now that we've got that other bit of the top rail on, I'm just going to measure this section here Yeah, lovely. And then we're going to take it to our chop saw and cut it. And what you want to do, you always want to double check it fits first before gluing it, because obviously it's easier to cut it without no glue on. This fits, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get it glued up, pinned in, and we can move on.
Right, so now you're at this stage where your top rail's on, your bottom rail's on. You need to decide how many panels you want. So for us, we're going to be having 5. So let's show you how to work out your panel size. So to work out your panel size, you have to take your total width of your wall and write that number down, and then you decide how many panels you want. So if you're going to have 5, for example, that means you're going to need 6 uprights. And if you take 6 times 100, because that's how wide they are, that will give you 600. You take that measurement off the total width. Once you've got your new number, you then divide that by the number of panels you want. So for us, it will be by 5. And for us, that gives us 532. But you obviously use your measurements.
Right, so now that Phil's got all that maths out of the way, now we've got to move on to measuring inside for the panels. And what you do is you measure from the bottom plate here to the top. On our occasion, it's 1155, and we actually need 6 of them. So let's cut them.
Right, now that we've cut our strips to the correct height for our space here, it's just a case of gluing one on and starting to work our way through with that measurement. So if I show you one there, put our adhesive on like we already have with the rest. Start in this corner here. And then we're going to use our pins and our hammer or our pin gun if you've got one. Remember that measurement that we was talking about, that we worked out? We're going to start marking out for our gaps, like so. Remembering that our panel goes there. We're just going to mark the bottom. We'll glue up again. And then we'll line up the side of our upright like that. Put it on our panel. And then what we're going to do, so if you're using a hammer and pin, we're going to pin the bottom. And then we're going to get ourselves a level. Here's one I made earlier. And we're just going to slide it down the side and adjust our upright until it's level like so. And then we're just going to pin that in place to allow it to dry. And we're just going to repeat that process all the way through.
Right, that's awesome work there, Phil.
Thank you.
And now it's time to add the trim or the capping to the top. And you can get any sort of one, whatever takes your fancy. This one's from B&Q, and we need to fix it on.
And this is just going to sit on the top like so, and it just finishes off your little panelling. So all we're going to do, grab adhesive, again, it does everything. And we're just going to fill this little corner up. So we're going to alternate our joins like we have been. So we've got that join there, one over there, just the way I like to do it. And then we're just going to start working our way along this trim, because if your walls ain't perfect, you might find that it's hanging off one end. And we're going to take our pin gun and we're going to pin down about 45 degrees. And that's going to shoot down into our panelling. Again, if you're using a hammer and pins, same thing, but you're just doing it manually. And then we're going to put our little piece in that Brad's already cut. Once we've added our adhesive again.